Hello and welcome. On behalf of the Ford Motor Company, we are delighted to have you all here tonight for this historic and very exciting evening. Who's excited? For the team involved, this has been a passion project like no other. And when you have a Take No Prisoners racing driver at the top of the company running the show, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ford Motor Company, Mr. Jim Farley.
Hi everyone.
We also have a very, very special guest. Bill Ford and his son Will are here tonight. And I'm really excited because they're a huge part of this project and this so much more.
I have to just take a quick step back to explain the purpose why this vehicle exists. Like most good things, it's been in the works for a long time. We knew in 2015 that we would have the opportunity to win and compete in Le Mans 50 years after we had won outright. Our first of 4 times. And we started to talk, the engineering team and even the Larry Holt at Multimatic, to talk about whether we could bring Mustang to win the GT class at Le Mans. And we traveled race tracks around the world. We did a lot of simulation. Larry did a lot of simulation. It became very clear that it would just be too difficult and dependent on the regulators for the vehicle to win because of the rules at the time and the Mustang at the time. Since then, we've had 2 generations of Mustang. And we did the Ford GT because we thought that was the best way for us to win the GT class. But we always had this car in the back of our mind as leaders at Ford. How can we take Mustang, which is now the best-selling sports coupe in the world? And a lot of people think of 911 and they think a lot of other cars, but it's pretty amazing. You know, big markets. We have big markets in Australia and Sweden, not just the U.S. And so this is now a global car for us. Right-hand drive, left-hand drive, huge export volumes, really important to us. And a couple years ago, we started to develop a strategy to race Mustang. We looked at what Mazda had done and especially what Porsche had done with their racing program. And we thought maybe we could do it even better than they would, which is quite a different effort than the Ford GT. So you've started to see some of the pieces, but tonight you're going to see the pinnacle of that whole strategy. We race the 7th generation Mustang in NASCAR. We race in NHRA. We race in Australia Supercars. We will now have a track version. We have our own race series for Mustang that's coming up. We have also the first level of endurance racing, amateur level car that's specifically built for those customers. We then have our GT4 and GT3 for both IMSA and WEC. And I don't think there's a nameplate in our industry that covers that much ground globally. On any given weekend, over the next couple of years, you're going to see Mustangs race in literally 20, 30, 40 countries. It's really special, especially as an American company, the most American company. We're extremely proud. And that all comes down to how do we translate that to the road? And that's what this car's about. It's called the Mustang GTD because of its class, and the concept for the car is really simple. We want to take the race car and actually make the road car better than the race car, if that's possible. And we're going to have some really cool guests who are going to give you an insight. The car looks great, but what really matters about this car, the truth in the car, is the technology in the car. It looks great, but the technology is what's going to make the biggest difference for the customers. So let's take a look at the car, and then we're going to have some special guests explain it to you. Thank you. For getting in the middle of all your pictures, because that's what's important. but we're really excited about this product for a lot of reasons that I described. You're probably asking when and how much. So on that one, we're thinking around the $300,000 price range, and between a year and 18 months from now is when we'll start producing these cars. So it's right around the corner. The idea behind the car, we love our Shelbys, but this is not that car. This is actually a quite hard right turn from the history. What we want to do here is literally take all of the race car technology and homologate it for global markets, sold around the world. And that's really the concept behind the car. And there are other brands that do that, but they often take their GT3 race car and they actually take away technology. And we don't want to do that. It's quite a different concept. And we are an underdog. Even though we've been racing all these years, won Formula One and every other race series you can imagine, Le Mans, doesn't matter, we are underdog to take on the German and the global automotive enthusiast elite. And we feel great about being that underdog. And so to give you more insight into the essence of the product, I think it's really important for you to see the specifics. So with that, I'm going to ask Colin to be joined by Harry Ticknell as well as Joey Hand. Harry and Joey are important for you because they'll be the two drivers that lead the development for us to go to win Le Mans with this car.
Thank you, Jim. Jim Farley, everybody. Thanks to Harry and Joey here for joining me up here. We're all car people here. Let's do a little speed round. 800 plus horsepower, 5.2 liter supercharged V8 with dry sump. It has titanium, it has magnesium, it has carbon fiber. The technology that Ford Racing has pulled into this road car is absolutely amazing. It's next level. It's a supercar that's unmistakably a Mustang by appearance and unmistakably a Mustang with its soul. But as Jim said, it's a hard right. It's a totally new car. Now we want to hear what these famous racing drivers, these Le Mans winning racing drivers have to say about it. So, gentlemen, first impressions, Joey?
There's so many things in this car that are done with purpose that you'll see tonight and throughout when it's getting done. But, carbon fiber body pieces and drag reduction system, carbon ceramic brakes, all this stuff is things that for race car drivers just checks boxes as far as fun to drive, exciting to drive. So, Harry and I look at it and go, man, that's awesome. So, very excited about it. I think you guys will be too.
Now, everything, when you look at the car, everything was done with purpose and intent. Everything was thought out. There's downforce built into the headlights of this car. So, but I'm just talking out of school because Harry, you've driven this car in the sim, so tell us what it's like to drive.
Yeah, Joey and I are in race car ready for its debut at Daytona next year. We're super excited about that and to go back to Le Mans. And we're doing a lot in the simulator with the race car. And not too far in the past, the engineers at the end of the day said, right, we're going to put the street model into the simulator and do some laps, and that's how you feel. And honestly, when you put the street car into the simulator, having driven the race car all day, there's a little bit of an adjustment period where you got to get used to the street car. It's in an unusual environment on the racetrack, and we went out, and honestly, I was shocked at how close this car was to the race car. I mean, the amount of downforce we have, the 50-50 weight distribution, it corners so well. The brake points were exceptionally similar, 800 plus horsepower, but it's delivered to the wheels so smoothly in the advanced tech, electronics, the TC, the ABS, and all these things put together actually made it super easy to drive. And so I'm really excited for the enthusiast driver. Joe and I have been racing forever, but for the enthusiast drivers to come to a track day and drive this car for the first time, I think they're going to be able to get a lot more out of it than many other cars, and I'm just super excited to see that happen. I mean, DRS in the street car, that's insane.
So tell us a little about what you wish you had in GT3 is available here.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure, a lot of you know, balanced performance is just trying to take a bunch of marks and keep them in the same area so that it puts on a show, right? I mean, this car is not about that. This is what Ford could do without a balanced performance restriction. So that's where you see things like dual clutch, 8-speed transmission, and drag reduction system, which is one of the cooler things for us, really, and probably one of the cooler things for everybody, is going to be that drag reduction system, because the car is going to actively take downforce out before you're on the straightaways from the front and the rear, so it's balanced. But then in the corners, stack that downforce back in there by putting the wing back in. You know, that's a best of both worlds situation we don't get in the race car. In a race car, we get to choose. We want straight line speed, we take that wing out. Or do we want aero, like the downforce, and put the wing in? And one or the other is going to hurt you in one spot or the other. So, you know, from a race car driver standpoint, you know, I like the fact that the aero goes back in, because that's for the corners and going fast around the corner. And that's kind of where we make our money, is in the corners, right? So we make our money. So
that's where Harry makes his money.
You know, yeah. You know, there's a bunch of stuff that on this car, you have bigger brakes than we can run. There's all sorts of things that are going to make it quicker and just really more enjoyable drive and have more fun.
Right. Now, Harry, tell us a little about the ASV, the adaptive dampers in the car, and what that means for the person behind the wheel.
ASV stands for Adaptive Spool Valve. It's something that Joey and I have tested in the Ford GT Mark IV, another incredible Ford car, by the way. And we drove that at Sebring. I'm sure many in the room have driven Sebring, and if not, then you probably know that it's one of the most bumpy and treacherous tracks in the world, let alone in North America. And with the ASV turned off, you go for a corner like turn 1, the car's bouncing all over the place, you know, jumping up and down, it's difficult to drive, and ultimately you have to go slower through the corner. With the ASV turned on, when we got it on display over here, there's a little black box and there's a microchip in there, and that is getting all these different parameters fed to it. Speed, brake pressure, steering angle, road surface. And what's happening is it's spitting out a damper setting for the optimal conditions of that road or that corner, whatever you're going through. So you turn that on, you go through turn 1, all of a sudden the car is riding the crest of the wave. It's just riding those bumps so well. You can go way faster, and it's much easier to drive. But then you get to the next corner, and it might be a lot smoother. And it adapts, and it can go from full stiff to full soft in 10 milliseconds. It's a real game changer, multimatic patented technology. And in 25 years of racing, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. And that's great to have on Ford GT Mark IV. You know, track day only car, super limited edition. What I'm most excited about is that the second car that's going to have this technology is this one. And it's the first one with a license plate on, so I just can't wait for everyone to see it and drive it. It's going to be a real game changer. And that's, you know, like you say with the track day mode, it drops the car down 40 mil, it doubles the spring rate. In the race car, if we drop the car 2 mil, it makes a huge difference in the grip and the downforce that we have. So 40 mil honestly is like a different stratosphere of performance, but just don't put it on when you drive around in Canterbury Road next year, because you might take the front splitter off.
Right. But Joey, tell us a little about the variable traction control. That's another first, to have variable traction control in a road car. So you have it in the race car. Tell us how it's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that comes right down from the race car stuff, and that's another one of those cool things. In the race car, if we're out in a stint, we're driving 2 hours, and it's started out dry and it starts to go wet or get slippery, we can up the traction control amount so it helps us out a little bit, so we don't spin out or whatever. It just gives us some, we call it how intrusive the traction control is. We have it right on the knob of the steering wheel. You'll have it right on the steering wheel of this car also. You'll be able to plus or minus some positions and help yourself out. So if you're on track day and it gets a little wet, a little damp, you can just up that traction control to give you a little help. And if you're trying to go super fast on super grippy surface, you can just turn it down a little bit. So another one of those things that comes from the race car into this car.
So it's there to help guys like me not run out of talent.
And probably need more help than that.
And here we have it, guys, the Ford Mustang GTD, the race car. made for the road. This takes aerodynamics to the next level. Let me know, what do you think in the comment section down below of this all-new multimatic built Ford Mustang featuring 800 horsepower with a 5.2-liter supercharged V8. Tons of downforce originating from the actual race car. We're going to be seeing a race at Le Mans. Now, we had the Ford GT for the past couple of years racing, and the team still always wanted deep down to bring a Mustang to that level. And now they've learned so much with engineering the Ford GT with multimatic, such as the suspension systems, also magnesium, carbon fiber, DRS. Now they're bringing it to a Mustang. Now, obviously, pricing, it's going to be a lot of money, that being $300,000. But I believe they aren't going to be hand-built. One thing I do want to point out is that looking straight at the tire and wheel combination, you have 325s, 325 by 30/20s up front, featuring magnesium wheels and carbon ceramics that house Brembo brake calipers on the outside. I've never seen such a wide contact patch up front for a track-focused vehicle. Oh, check that out as well. Look at the clearance between the tire and the front fenders. It is very close. And in track mode, it'll lower, but look at the exit vents right here on the front fenders. That is crazy. I remember having my GT 350R, and the exit vents were pretty cool, I thought. Well, this brings it to the next level with all the exit blades, even the exit intakes, well, exit vents on the hood. Fundamentally, though, it's got a lot of design cues that look straight off the production line from Ford, such as the side mirrors, the A-pillars, the roof line that's black. However, when you get closer to the back, that is when it goes the next level. With the underhanging rear spoiler, that still, just like the front, uses DRS technology, active aero, to actively give you more downforce, less, depending on each straightaway and cornering segment. For example, you would want more downforce for the corners, and then once you hit a straightaway, you want less downforce because that'll give you drag, and that'll slow you down by a large margin. Seeing this vehicle in person, it reminds me so much of the new GT3 RS, taking technology, racing aerodynamics, and putting them onto a street car. They both use Cup 2R tires, but I think the rework for the Mustang is to a much higher level. Look at these radiators out back with these exit vanes. Oh, look at that. The GTD logo is fully carbon fiber. I love that touch, and you still have a rear view camera. Coming all the way down, one feature I'm a big fan of is the Akrapovic titanium exhaust housed next to massive blades for the rear diffuser, up to give you even more aerodynamics. I'm very curious to see this rear spoiler in action. Whoa, the trunk has push pins. Those push pins look just like the ones on the Ford Mustang GT500. I wonder how that will work. So maybe closing them, you got to push the buttons to unlock. I'm not sure. And you can see another air intake vent right in front of the underhanging rear spoiler. So air is entering through there and also traveling up high, hitting the spoiler. This is more in the clean air. That's why it's so high up and massive. Down below, maybe that provides brake cooling. I'm not sure because we just saw the vehicle coming down though. Having magnesium wheels front and back, well, you'd expect the rear to be much bigger, and they are 345s by 30 by 20. Okay, if I were to compare that to my GT500, this takes it to the next level because I had 315s on my 760 horsepower supercharged Mustang. I think engine-wise, this having 800 horsepower, it's just like the GT500, right? But it's got a little bit more. I just love these side intakes. Reminds me of the Need for Speed Ford Mustang. Also coming all the way down low, look at the exit vents for the side skirt. So the air is not only exiting from the high pressure air zone on the front wheel arch area, because you got to realize air kind of gets packed in there and it can provide front lift, while having exit vents for not only heat for the engine area over there, but also where the wheel arches are. That helps to relieve and reduce the front end lift on high speed cornering zones. And you can see a similar exit vent on the Ford GT down below that connects to the side skirt. One funny thing though is that fundamentally on the interior, if you can see, hopefully you can see, it looks close to a Mustang GT. I can't spot a difference. It's got the Recaro seats that look like the ones I used to have in my Shelby GT500. It's got the rotary dial. Can you see that? Right over there. And I would guess when this thing finally hits the road, you'll be getting a ton of carbon fiber. You do have the massive screens. One metric they have not mentioned yet is the weight of the vehicle. They did say that a majority of the components will be carbon fiber, so that should help with the weight issue that everyone is so worried about, including myself. They've also introduced aerodynamic improvements for where the headlight section is on the vehicle, giving you downforce. Plus, more push pins, just like what you have on the GT500. Now, knowing me, coming from all the Mustangs that we have had over the years, GT350R, GT500 Super Snake, the newer 2020 GT500, the first ever delivery of that car, 10.6 quarter-mile world record, going to tracks all over the country, then getting a track pack. Well, we are the OGs when it comes to Mustangs and putting down fast laps. This speaks to me. I did ask the team, what does it take to actually get one? Well, there is an application process. More on that soon, but I think I'm going to make sure to do that. I'm going to make sure to sign up for that application process because I think we have good odds going for us with all the Mustang stuff we've done over the years. But hey, stay tuned for that and let me know, what do you think, especially with this compared to the Ford GT? Because, well, being a Mustang fan, this is a Mustang we've always dreamed of. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It really has helped me out. And subscribe for much more great content coming out your way. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Woo, I'm excited about this one. Thanks, guys. See ya for more content here in Monterey.